Today I'm going to be looking at this video. It's called The Real Cost of Living in Canada in 2025. Can you afford it? Yeah, Canada is definitely somewhere I would consider moving to. As I say, watching a lot of videos about Canada, life there looks so nice, so many beautiful cities, even the small towns. I feel like if I was going to move to Canada, it might be to one of the smaller towns. Especially having a family, it seemed like very nice places to raise children. A good country in general to raise children due to like the high education levels and that sort of thing, the very good quality education. But what's the cost of living? I'm not really too sure. You can tell me as a Canadian, how is the cost of living? I know that in a lot of countries it's been increasing quite a lot. It says here, like at the bottom of this one, 85% of Canadians living paycheck to paycheck. Is that correct? You can tell me your experience. Let's watch this and we can learn a little bit more.
A recent survey shows that about 85% of Canadians are feeling like they're living paycheck to paycheck in 2025. Have you ever paused and wondered if 85% of Canadians are living paycheck to paycheck in 2025, what does that mean for someone like you and me, newcomers who dream of building a life here in Canada? Is this country truly out of reach, or is there a hidden reality that nobody talks about? Stick with me, because the truth about Canada's affordability isn't that simple. It entirely depends on where you live, what you earn, and the kind of life you're trying to build here.
Yeah, I guess for anywhere, that's the main sort of factors, where you live. That's why I think, like, if I was going to move to Canada, it might be one of the smaller towns. Like, one of everybody's biggest outgoings is of course like rent or mortgage, but I guess you got to think about where to stay. Like a smaller town might be more affordable in that respect, but what you earn, the kind of life you're trying to build, again, if you've got a family, it's going to be more costly. Yeah, tell me, how is it having a family there? Like, I've got 2 young kids. Is it expensive trying to live with a family in
life
Canada?
You're trying to build here, and trust me, is not what you think. Hi, I'm Bella. In this video, we're not just scratching the surface. We're going to take a deep, honest, province by province dive into what it really costs to live in Canada in 2025. My goal is to share what I wish somebody else had told me before I moved here, and help you make the most informed decision possible. And if you find this conversation helpful, please hit the thumbs up and subscribe to my channel so that this information gets to reach more people who need it. Let's dive straight into the numbers that will immediately impact your daily life. The cost of essentials, and we're talking about rent, food, utilities, getting around via public transportation or your private vehicle, and also 2 big insurance costs, which are your rental insurance and your car insurance if you do own a car. I've broken this down into one person living in a 1-bedroom apartment across all 13 provinces and territories, trying to give you a comprehensive view of what it's like across Canada. And remember,
that's like quite interesting as well. I guess this is the different provinces, and you can I guess you could just look at that and make a choice that one of these places might be the most affordable to like move, especially British Columbia, Ontario, quite expensive. It's quite a big drop off as well. Like, it's like, I guess obviously when you're moving to places like this, it might be the big cities are taking the average up quite a bit, but maybe the smaller towns might be closer to here.
remember, these are just
Tell me where you live and if you think this is an accurate amount.
average costs, and living in major urban areas will definitely push these costs even higher. There's quite a bit of a difference across provinces, isn't there? If you choose to live in a city like Toronto or Vancouver, your rent is very likely triple or even quadruple what you would have to pay in a smaller city like Saskatoon or Fredericton. And it's not just about rent. It's also your grocery bills, your car insurance cost, and even your public transit costs. It's a huge difference in daily financial pressure. Look at these numbers. Which province's baseline costs surprised you the most? Drop a comment below. I'm really curious to hear what you think. But here is the burning question. Drop a comment below.
Yeah, even like Quebec, like, seems quite affordable. Tell me, like, yeah, where do you think is the ideal place where you get a mix of, and that's the thing actually, I'm going to say, like, you get like a lot of like amenities and nice things to do and stuff like that. But I think any of the sort of, whether it's bigger cities or smaller cities or towns in Canada, have such a good quality of life compared to a lot of other places around the world, that even if you want to move to maybe like a quieter place, there's still going to be like really nice places to live, I think.
I'm really curious to hear what you think. But here's the burning question. Do higher costs always mean higher salaries? We're diving into that next. Okay, so you've seen the essential costs. Now the other side of the coin, income. Because what you make is just as critical as what you spent, right? And forget about national average, because income levels could vary so much from province to province. Let's look at the average individual after-tax take-home pay for the year 2023 to 2024, which can give us a really good estimate for 2025. As you can see, provinces like Alberta and Saskatchewan are at the top for average take-home pay. Now here's a crucial mini insight for you. While BC and Ontario also show high average earnings, their sky-high cost of living, especially housing, will quickly eat up that income. It's a classic example of high income not always matching the actual purchasing power. On the flip side, provinces like PEI and Newfoundland have lower income levels, but their cost of living is also significantly lower, which can lead to a more balanced and less stressful financial situation. So it's all about finding your personal balance. Considering these incomes, which province or territory aligns best with your earning potential and the cost of living we just discussed? Drop your comment down below. So we've only been talking about renting a place, but what if you wanted to buy a house? Which province do you think might make that happen for you? Get ready, because the numbers might surprise you. Now, let's tackle the big one for many of you, housing. For most of us, the long-term dream in Canada involves purchasing a home, not just renting forever. But what's truly realistic in 2025? And it's not just the purchase price, it's the monthly commitment. We're talking about monthly mortgage payment, house insurance, and your property tax. These all add up big time.
Just with that, I guess this is kind of aimed at people who are coming to Canada or that sort of thing, but like, can foreigners actually buy property in Canada? Like, I know, for instance, I live in Malaysia, and yes, technically, like, foreigners can buy property, but there's like very high restrictions, like minimum amounts you have to buy. You also have to hold that property for a certain amount of years, otherwise you get like a huge, not fine, but a huge tax amount, you could say, for every year. It decreases every year for up to like 8 years, but there's a lot of restrictions to actually buy property. It's very difficult almost, but I mean, can someone just be a foreigner and just come work in Canada and then just buy property, or is there any sort of restriction?
Let's break down the average housing price for the 13 regions, along with what you can expect for a monthly mortgage payment, your house insurance, and your property tax. Please note that these are broad averages and will significantly vary depending on the specific city or rural area you decide to settle in. And also remember that these numbers are based on the assumptions that first, you're paying a minimal down payment. Second, you're taking on a 25-year mortgage with 5-year fixed at a mortgage rate of 5%. Compare these total housing costs to the rent figures we saw earlier. What a difference. And here's another crucial point. Accessing a mortgage can be a real hurdle for newcomers, which requires a Canadian credit history and a substantial amount of down payment. Even if you have the funds, your initial access could still be limited. That said, if you have sufficient funds to pay for the property outright, maybe not having a Canadian credit history is not going to be a problem for you, but that's going to be a different conversation. So generally speaking, for some, especially in the high-cost provinces, renting a place might be the better option initially. For others, buying outside major cities in more affordable provinces makes more financial sense.
It seems like Alberta, if you want to really like save money, or because of such high earnings and relatively low cost of property or property payments, I guess it's going to like depend on where in Alberta, for instance. It would in all these places, it's going to vary depending on where in the province you actually stay as well. Seems like Ontario and British Columbia. Tell me if you're from any of these two provinces. Is it unaffordable? Is it very difficult to get by?
More affordable provinces makes more financial sense. It really is a strategic decision. So, are you leaning more towards renting or buying a house? And what's your biggest concern with either option? Share your thoughts down below. But what happens to these costs when you add a family to the mix? Get ready for some eye-opening numbers, especially around childcare. Your costs change drastically according to your family size. It's not just linear. Some expenses could literally explode. Now let's compare a single person's monthly expenses to that of a family of 4, more specifically a couple with 2 children. This will highlight the differences that you absolutely need to consider if you are moving here as a family. Here, the numbers are based on the cost of living in a medium cost province like Alberta or Manitoba. As you can see, expenses for family can jump substantially. Beyond housing, childcare is one of the largest costs, often hundreds or even $1,000 per child monthly.
So I guess like if that's the case, then it's probably best to wait till your children start school and then move somewhere like this. And I guess you don't have to pay childcare, or do you still have to? I guess the foreigners have to pay for education. Like if say me and my family were to move to Canada, would we? And they were both like whatever you call it, primary, elementary age, school age. Would you have to pay, as a foreigner, pay for them to go to school, or is it free for them?
Some provinces offer subsidized childcare, but it's still a massive consideration. Food, activities, transportation, everything else scales up as well. A very common mistake the newcomers make is underestimating how expensive it becomes when both parents work and need to pay for the childcare. Family life in Canada is rewarding, but it absolutely requires an upfront financial planning and a strategic choice of location than most people realize. So if you have kids, how are you planning to manage childcare costs here in Canada? Or if you're single, which of the family-related expenses do you think surprises you the most? Share your thoughts in the comments. But what about those hidden costs? The everyday expenses that no one tells you about until you're here. We're diving into those next. These can either make or break your budget. Now,
one thing like on that, especially when you got 2 kids or any amount of kids, like for me, the more hidden costs would be like sports or other activities like that. My son plays football and tennis, like soccer, football and tennis. My daughter's only 2, but when she's a little bit older, maybe 4 or 5, then we'll be like doing other things with her, like some sports. She does ballet actually already, but we're doing ballet, some other stuff as well. But how much do those sort of things cost for kids? Is it expensive, cheap? Is it free? Tell me how that is for you as a parent with children.
Let's talk about those sneaky everyday costs that often get neglected in generic cost of living lists. Your lifestyle choices, my friend, will dramatically impact your monthly expenses. It's not just about paying the bills, it's about how you choose to live your life. I've sketched out 3 common immigrant lifestyles I've observed and how they will influence these hidden costs. These aren't bad expenses. It's just about knowing your habits and being honest to build a budget around it. These seemingly small nuances really add up. So be honest with yourself about the kind of life you truly want to build here and factor that into your planning. So which of these lifestyle profiles resonates with you the most? What are you most concerned about budgeting for? Drop your comments down below. But here's some good news. Canada does support. There are some government programs that are specifically designed to help newcomers. Stick around and see which program you are eligible for. Now let's talk about government support. Knowing these can ease your financial burden, especially in those crucial first years. Federal programs like Canada Child Benefit and the GST HST credit offer vital tax-free payments to eligible families and individuals. Beyond federal, provinces and territories often offer varying support. You might find housing, rent subsidies, utility relief, childcare subsidies, job placement help, and free language classes. My advice?
Tell me, like, as a Canadian, what do you think about that as well? Do you think that's too much for foreigners? Like, being British, like, I know that's a big debate in the UK at the moment. Like, there's a lot of, like, immigration or people coming to the UK and they get a lot of benefits, or I don't know exactly what benefits, but people make out that they get a lot of benefits. I don't know exactly what's the case, but this one, there's a lot of things there. Like being British, again, living in Malaysia, I get zero. I don't expect anything. I don't need anything. I would always just work for myself and earn my own money and have my own savings. So, but there's literally zero. I don't get any benefit at all. I just have to pay for my visa. That's it, and I'm happy with that. Like I would never expect to get anything from in another country, as I'm a guest basically. So. But that seems like a lot. Maybe that's why a lot of people want to move to Canada, because there's so many benefits they can receive, which is good to help support them settle in the country. But like being Canadian, do you think it's too much to give people a
Connect with a local immigrant settlement agency as soon as you arrive. They are a gold mine of free information and support. Explore what's available to you. These supports could be a safety net as you get established and understand the Canadian system. So which of these government support programs would be most beneficial for your unique situation? Let me know in the comments. So after seeing all these numbers, does Canada still feel like a possibility for you? Or do you feel extremely overwhelmed? Stick around for my final, most crucial piece of advice. Here's the unfiltered truth that Canadians are feeling daily and that newcomers absolutely need to understand. For many, salary is not keeping pace with the rising cost of living, especially in those major urban centers. You'll hear this on the news, from your friends, in the cafes. This is a nationwide challenge, not just a newcomer problem. But here's the crucial part, and this is where hope comes in. It doesn't mean that Canada is impossible or that your dreams here are out of reach. What it does mean is that we, immigrants and residents, have to make smarter, more realistic, and more intentional choices. It means carefully considering where you settle, how you truly plan to live, and align those choices with your skills and earning potential. It's about basing your decisions on your life and the data, not on assumption and broad averages. It's about being strategic, informed, and adaptable. So please don't let broad generalizations or sensational headlines decide the future for you. Take the time to look at your personal income potential, your family's unique needs, and your own values. Then, and only then, compare what each province and territory realistically offers in terms of cost and lifestyle. Because ultimately, whether Canada is affordable for you depends far more on your personal context and the thoughtful, informed decision you make than any single sweeping statement. It is your journey and you have the power to shape it. All right, we've covered a huge amount of ground diving deep into the financial.
Okay, so yeah, tell me what you think about that. If you're looking at those graphs, is that true of your situation? Like, what do you think about the cost of living? Like for me, like it just seems like if I was going to move to Canada, it would just be not British Columbia and Ontario just for the cost, but there's plenty of other provinces, and if it was going to be one of those two provinces, it would be like moving to one of the smaller cities or towns. But tell me about your life, where you live. Is it becoming more difficult, or are you finding it okay with the cost of living in Canada? Thanks.